So where were we? Oh, right. So when did Kirk develop these incredible talents? Well, let's look at his early years. Any sign of that? Here he is at 6 months. It's hard to tell if he's creative at that stage. At 5 years old, he's looking not so comfortable in a suit and tie. He's got a little Conan O'Brien thing going there, I think. Here he is at age 6 when he thought he would go into the priesthood. And here he is in his, older developmental years as in Notre Dame in 1975, SLU Medical School 77, Illinois Eye, Ear, and Infirmary in 1981, and as a Retina Fellow, pretty professional-looking photographs, maybe an inkling of some creativity or theatrics as a Retina Fellow at Emory. But it's really when you dive deep down into his archives when he's not looking around that you see where it came from. This is in high school, and there was a pretty clear signal of an interest in theater back then. And it continued in college, and it's evolved into the detail of makeup, and he just kept getting better and better and better. Then he went into practice, and obviously, you go into practice, you've got to become pretty serious. Or not. Here he is with his residents on Halloween, and more recently on Halloween, saw patients in this getup. And this is just last year at a practice holiday party with Maggie. His creativity and attention to detail is really unsurpassed. And what is incredible about Kirk is that he is able to combine these talents with an incredible ability to articulate complex medical problems, intertwine them, and create an amazing story that conveys the importance of the topic in a way that everybody wants to hear it. And people that were at his course on Friday saw that in real action when he had a 1.5-hour course on the history of retina. Our colleague, Renaud Duval, who has also created the meeting introduction video that you see at the beginning of each day, has created a tribute to Kirk, the artist and the teacher.
A recognizable personality. And here he is, Monsieur Ham Starstruck.
To insulate or not to insulate, that is the question.
Yo, Serge, my man.
The ASRS is in Chicago. I got a full bottle of BSS, half a pack of Vitprobes. My OR is dark, and I'm wearing 3D glasses. Your society's on a mission from God. Hit it.
Floaters would fear you.
Be my surgeon? Got that.
Good. Someday I may come to you and ask you for a service, and that day may never come. I may ask you to take some call for me, maybe do a buckle. But until that day, accept this reoperation as a gift on my fellow's graduation day.
Grazie, Pata.
Prego, prego.
We hope that this presentation has given you some insight into some of the basic principles of pars plana surgery.
Can we go back one slide, please? Now, none of this occurs in a vacuum. The thousands and thousands of hours that Kirk has spent on ASRS activities, it means he's not with his family. So that's time spent away from Bob and his grandson Isaiah, and of course, wonderful Maggie. And so although only Kirk's name is on this award, this is being presented to all of them. So it's my great pleasure to introduce the first recipient of the inaugural Packo Award, Kirk H. Packo, Bob Packo, Maggie Packo, and grandson Isaiah, in gratitude for all of your exceptional contributions to the American Society of Retina Specialists. If you all would come up, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, as my family is joining me, I'd, spotlighting the microphone. I'm not going to miss this, despite all that. Oh, wow. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jerry, Alan. Thank you, Renaud Duval, for that amazing video as well. You know, Renaud was one of our fellows, so I can always, good judge of talent, too, so amazing. So what do I say about this? This is not, as you saw, it's not the ASRS presenting Kirk Packo with an award, presenting Kirk Packo with the Packo Award. And I find this completely mind-boggling. I was thinking 100 years from now, at the 137th annual meeting, they're going to present the Packo Award, and they're going to present it to a retinal specialist who beamed to the meeting wearing a silver jumpsuit and probably spent all day sticking needles in people's eyes, because 100 years won't be enough to free us of that. And they're going to show my picture and maybe a little bit of Renaud's video, and they're going to wonder who this guy from Chicago was who lived back in 2019. And they're going to wonder why he did this. So the why, as you saw, is service, and it was defined as service to the society and to our field. And why isn't it enough we went into this field to be retina doctors and ophthalmologists? Why isn't it enough to have the comfort and the nobility of what we do with that? I mean, there's great joy in the care of our patients. It's what drove us all to this. I gave a part of my soul to taking care of patients, but I gave my part of soul to something else too. And I need to define that. So in order to understand that, I just need to give you a little brief psychoanalysis of me, a little psychoanalysis. You're wondering, well, how did this crazy guy do all this stuff, or why does he do it? So I'll take you back to 1979. I was applying to ophthalmology as a medical student. I wanted desperately to be an eye doctor. And that was the first year of the computer match. Apple had just started. So I applied to 15 programs. I opened up my letter, I read it, and I read, "We are sorry to inform you that you have received no offers." And I was devastated. I didn't match. And I was so devastated, I thought, well, internal medicine, here I come, sniffles and hypertension. And I luckily found out that my number one choice, the University of Illinois, still had an opening. They didn't know how to work the match. It was new. And they only ranked 7 for their 8 spots, and they had an opening, they had an opening, 1 spot. So then I find myself re-interviewing with the great god of ophthalmology, Mort Goldberg. And Mort told me that time what he was looking for in residents. And he wasn't wanting to train just people who were content with that nobility of taking care of patients' eyes. He wanted to train people who would make a difference in their career, and to train people who trained people who trained people, who published, presented, who did things to make it better for colleagues who would touch other patients' eyes, and the nobility would be shared. He called it his ripple effect. And of course, desperate to get that position, medical student, I figured, well, I'd pull all out stops. So I lean forward and I tell him, "Dr. Goldberg, all I need is the opportunity. You give me this chance, and I'll make good on this, and I'll show you what I can do." And I made a promise that kind of culminates here today. Mort sent me an email this morning. He couldn't be here, and he wished he could, but he says, "Kirk, you did it, and you made good on that promise." So now I had my marching orders. So I finished my residency, and now I'm in practice, and I want to be a contributor, right? So I had to do something with that. And I was getting my CV ready to prepare for a future application at Retina Society. Got in, I love the Retina Society. And Andy Packer comes to me and he says, "Kirk, we got this new society called the Vitreous Society, you ought to join." And I thought, "Vitreous Society, Andy, I love you, but get away from me. That's the craziest thing I ever heard of." And he kept being persistent, and I joined probably just to shut him up. And then he put me on the board quickly because he knew I was this nutcase workaholic too. And when I got to the board on a committee, that's when I saw the brilliance of what the 3 guys had created. And because it was this open society for everybody, you didn't need a CV to apply with. All you needed was the passion. And the passion's the underlying line there. It's the passion of our nobility of taking care of patients. It's the passions for doing what we do. Why do we all do this stuff? Why do all of you do these extra things? Why does Joan and Larry do the things he does? We do it out of passion. And I saw that passion on the board, because here were a group of men and women who were there trying to drive and create something. But I had made a promise to be a contributor, so I wanted to contribute to that. So I started thinking of different things and different things to add, and I saw, wow, this could be a big society to fight for us at all levels and be all things retina, as was pointed out. So I started suggesting changes. And change, as was said, is always synonymous with loss. You got to give up something to do it. And so there was a little skepticism, because loss is pain and pain is sorrow. Psychologists talk about the grief of change. And because everybody was so passionate about it, they were a little worried about me. As they said, I don't think I coerced anybody, maybe threatened to break a few kneecaps because I was Chicago. But the change started to happen, and the change was ultimately embraced, and we went hand in hand as these changes proceeded. Some of those changes, like the name change, you think that came easy? Oh, man. There were heated discussions. Heated is an understatement. It's a fine line between ugly and heated, but that happened too, and I think we look back now and say, oh my God, what did we create? We created something joyous. The yin-yang of change, though, is even though you have pain with it, you do have joy, because you have joy of what you created, and hopefully that offsets the pain. Thank God that relationship's there in childbirth. I mean, mothers forget the pain of childbirth because of the joy of what you're holding in your hands. And the joy happened. And I was thrilled for 25 years, 20 years on the board of being a part of that, and I'm thrilled for this recognition. And I'll close with just these last remarks, and it's just a segue of what John said. I'm very happy that I read that it's the Packo Award and not the Kirk Packo Award, because the Packo standing behind me, I told John I'm not going to get through this, really deserve this award, and it's their name. I hope they understand it's their name there, too. The first is my son, Bob. When I was young doing this stuff and working 1,000 hours with Karen Baranek on the meeting and emailing her a good night at 2 in the morning as we're proceeding with the next meeting. And all those times, I missed a few of his hockey games. And I still find it hard to listen to Harry Chapin's song. But through that, Bob did then, he gives me now unconditional love. And again, that's the yin-yang, and that's the joy. And there's my wife, Maggie. A common thing for Maggie to have done is she gets up in the morning, she comes down to my basement office, she sees me at the computer working on PowerPoint or a video or a movie poster, and she realizes, oh God, he hasn't been to bed again. And what does Maggie do? She makes me a cup of coffee. And therein is the joy. I love them more than they know. I apologize to them for the pain I caused, but I rejoice in the joy of how it brought us together and the joy of what we've got here. I love this society more than the members know. I congratulate future Packo Award winners 100 years from now, whoever that's going to be. Thank you for your service to make our profession the passion filled with all the joy that it brings us. I thank the ASRS for this extraordinary honor for my family.